your name and address for the record?
Yes, I'm Rev Morse, Monroeville resident living in Garden City. I'm here on behalf of the Monroeville Interfaith Ministerium to read a statement that Dr. Gallagher has primarily written but circulated to other members of the ministerium. There are, incidentally, this is Maundy, Thursday, so most of our Christian pastors who are members of the ministerium cannot be here this evening. But I would ask that if there are any members of the ministerium here who have subscribed to this statement on behalf of Rabbi Rabbi Symons, they would stand while I read that. This is the statement that I'm prepared to read for you. On February 27th, 2018, following the community meeting concerning the rezoning of the Gateway Middle School, Rabbi Rabbi Symons entered into a conversation with Mr. Steve O'Donnell, Mr. Scott Williams, and another director, all of whom were speaking in a, quote, official capacity as a school board director, unquote. During the course of the conversation, Mr. O'Donnell referred to Rabbi Barbara as Bar. Again, this is first person being drafted by Dr. Gallagher. I'm unsure why he chose not to respect Rabbi Barbara's position as a leader in the community, but he did not offer her the same respect that he has given myself and other male clergy with whom he has been in conversation. Secondly, in the middle of the conversation, Mr. O'Donnell stated, quote, "Did you know that you have a thing on your head?" end quote. Offense was rightly taken by Rabbi Barbara. However, rather than rebuking Mr. O'Donnell, she chose not to dignify this comment. Mr. O'Donnell then acknowledged that he had said something stupid and that Rabbi Barbara should say so. Again, Rabbi Barbara refrained from dialogue and moved on. Mr. O'Donnell later in the conversation asked again, and I quote, "Do you know that you have something on your head?" end quote. Mr. O'Donnell, the members of the Monroeville Interfaith Ministerium would like to state our disappointment in your actions as an elected official. First, you did not show our colleague, a well-known and respected leader in the community, and the president of the ministerium, the respect she so very much deserved, by referring to her simply as Barb. Secondly, we, the members of the Monroeville Interfaith Ministerium, request and indeed demand a public apology by you for your anti-Semitic questions in reference to Reverend Barbara's kippah. That's the headgear she was apparently wearing. Statements like these are unacceptable by any person, and especially from an elected official. We further ask that the other directors who were present also that they issue an apology for their complicit silence in that events of that evening. We treasure the diversity in Monroeville, the diversity of the Gateway School District, and expect our elected officials to treasure and respect this diversity also. Your language and silence that night are inexcusable. Your lack of responding to Rabbi Symons' letter in reference to this offense, which was dated March 13th, 2018, is disappointing, to say the least. If you find your actions that night not deserving of a sincere and public apology for your public comments and actions, then this should be a question to your fitness to serve as a school board director in a highly diverse community. Sincerely, the members of Monroeville Interfaith Ministerium. And if I may, so I'd like to add a personal word. I think it's possible, Mr. O'Donnell, you may want to choose to deny that this occurred, but notwithstanding that, if it did, I want to register my own personal disappointment. An assault, and indeed an insult to any one of our religions as an insult to all of our religious faith. There are statements that are sometimes conceived to be humorous, and we all understand that, but that's very contextual. There are a number of things that touch deeply on the identity of each of us as persons. Race, gender, ethnicity, and certainly our faith are among those matters. And when someone chooses to do something that demeans any one of those categories, it demeans all of us. And so, speaking not on behalf of the ministerium, but speaking as Reverend David Morse, a 22-year member of this community, I am sincerely disappointed in you, the official leaders, who would be a part of something like that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend.
Anybody else?
Now, I'd like to respond to the comments that were made regarding me and the rabbi. Let me begin by saying that my attempt to interject a small amount of levity into a private conversation that I was part of that took place in a public setting was nothing more than an attempt to bring a little levity to what was otherwise a tense and difficult conversation. One of the comments that you made was that you had not received anything from me in response to the letter that the rabbi sent me on the 13th. Well, in fact, I have been pondering that question. And since you indicated that my failure to respond is some sort of an affront to you and your organization, I'll make sure that I get that response out to you, and I'll get it out quickly, because it's already been drafted. When I read the letter of the 13th, I think, when it came in, I have to tell you that I found that letter to be purposeful in its effort to misconstrue my comments. I found it self-centered, I found it arrogant, and I found it close to libelous. You took offense because I called you Barb and not Rabbi. Who writes a letter and criticizes someone for not addressing them with their organizational title? I've never run into that, but you apparently felt that was important. And the only thing I can assume from your letter with respect to that is that you judge yourself to be superior to me. Perhaps it's because you're a Jew, or perhaps it's because you, I would appreciate you wouldn't laugh when I'm speaking. Yes, you are. I take it that you either felt you were superior to me because you're Jewish, or perhaps because you've attained a certain level within your organization. Well, let's be clear. I completely reject that. Then you went on to criticize me because I think, as you said, I mocked the garb of your organization. I made a small, lighthearted comment about one element, and you took that and construed it to be an attempt to mock the garb of your organization. That's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Then you went on to somehow connect my comments to you, which probably took no more than 3 seconds, to be somehow tied to a national anti-Semitic movement. That's absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And unsupportable. You then went in to criticize me with respect to my duties as an elected official. Well, I think I've carried out my duties rather well as an elected official. And my suggestion to you would be, Rabbi, that you tend to your flock and I'll tend to mine. I also want to point you to something that's, is there something again funny about what I'm saying?
Disappointing.
No. Yeah, well, you're disappointing to me too.
That's fine.
Extremely disappointing. That you would come out and criticize in a public setting my lighthearted comment to her and construe it as some broad anti-Semitic attack. It's nonsense.
Excuse
It's
me,
never.
sir, your comment was anti-Semitic.
Please
It
be.
was.
You don't have the floor. I have the floor.
You
Okay. Let me be clear
I'd
about
like
it.
to respond.
No, you've had your chance to talk. This is my chance to
I'll
talk.
let him respond. Thank you, sir.
You're not going to have a chance to respond because the meeting will be over. That's how this works. Okay?
Order.
I guess so.
You're correct. I'm going to direct you to one final element, and that is the Constitution of the United States. I'm going to direct you to Article 1. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of a religion and so on and so forth, prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And then I'm going to direct you to Article 4 of the Constitution. The last 20 words or so are as follows. No religious test shall ever be required as a qualification of any office or public trust under the United States. I think those are particularly applicable. So, in summary, you're not going to get an apology from me. I deserve one from you. Thank you. That's it. Thanks.
Mr. Rucci.